back. Thank you for staying with us. This is our final segment, the market analysis. I'm joined now by Sifiso Nsibande, Treasury Sales Dealer at Nedbank Eswatini. A very good afternoon, Sifiso. Thank you for coming through today. So today we're focusing on Trump's State of the Nation address and also his rejected tariffs. But let's just get into his State of the Nation address.
Yeah. Thank you for having me once again, Lulu. Yeah, so Trump is always making headlines. So with the State of the Nation address, obviously he was blowing his horn about all the things that he claims he has achieved since taking office. Amongst many things, he was actually talking about crack on immigration. That immigration has actually reduced because, he's been deporting what he called aliens, which is the illegal people that are in the country, which basically is attributed to the murders and all the crime that is happening in America to those people. But actually, if you think about it, even the ratings in terms of the polls, they're actually rating him positively with immigration. They're just not ranking him high on the other polls, but with the immigration, they're ranking him high. And then he also mentioned his basically what he wants to do with Iran in terms of not letting them actually have nuclear weapons. The discussions are ongoing, and that's why actually the oil prices and the dollar is quite jittery, because there's a lot of uncertainty around what he's going to do with regards to his stand with Iran. So the talks are actually not actually giving an indication about where we currently stand, but at least the discussions and the negotiations are ongoing. He blew his horn about many things, really, but some are actually saying, no, he shouldn't take credit for that. And he claims that the economy is much better than when he actually first started. And one of the other things that he actually did also was to help the ordinary American citizen make mortgage affordable. Because what was happening is when investors invest in single homes, they actually cause the prices to go up. And then it makes the prices to be unaffordable. So what Trump did actually is to restrict investors in investing in single homes so that the ordinary American who is looking for his first home or her first home will be able to afford. So I think that is actually beginning to play out in America.
Yeah, and his tariffs being rejected.
And so his tariffs were rejected. The Supreme Court said it is illegal because he was actually using the International Emergency Economy Powers Act to actually implement those tariffs. So the Supreme Court said, no, you can't be doing that. But then immediately after that, he actually increased tariffs by 10%, threatening that it's going to go up to 15%. And that has caused further uncertainty to say, is what the Supreme Court has done going to stand by, or is what Trump is doing going to stand by? Which one of it is going to actually see the light of day? But I think the problem with that also is that if the Supreme Court judgment is anything to go by, it will cause a lot of suits, because many will start asking for refunds for all the tariffs that have been charged all along. They will start asking for refunds. So many are going to start suing the U.S. government to actually request that, can we have some refunds for the tariffs that we've been paying since they started coming into play.
All right, just before we unpack today's numbers, let's just come back to our neighboring country, South Africa. We know that Minister Enoch Godongwana started tabling the budget speech at 2 p.m. So what do we expect from his speech today? Yeah,
so the budget speech started at 2 p.m. I think it's ongoing as we speak. Yeah. But I think we are expecting fiscal consolidation in terms of them trying to cut the budget deficit. There will be a cut by budget deficit, but we are expecting also an allocation towards the foot and mouth diseases, which is not just affecting South Africa, but even here in Eswatini, we are actually seeing the effects of FMD. So we're expecting allocation towards that. We're not expecting much in terms of tax increases, because with the GNU, the DA is most likely going to be averse towards tax increases. So we're not expecting tax increases. We're also expecting that the tax, the VAT tax minimum in terms of how much revenue you must make for you to fall under a VAT payer, We expect that to be increased as well because the last time it was actually increased from 300,000 to 1 million was in 2009. And with prices having increased all along, 1 million is actually a small amount of money. So now a lot of other, even small businesses are now into that category. So we expect them to actually increase the minimum so that it frees the small businesses to not pay VAT, so that they'll be able to actually contribute towards stimulating the economy.
All right, so now let's just take a look at today's figures, numbers, starting off with equities this afternoon. What's happening there?
Yeah, so with equities, I'll begin with the S&P 500. The reason why we actually saw an increase, or rather a positive, going up in terms of plus 0.77%, was because of NVIDIA. NVIDIA is one of the largest artificial intelligence company. Okay. So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of debate about whether artificial intelligence is sustainable going forward. So investors are actually just monitoring the earnings report that's coming out from NVIDIA. So that's the reason why we're actually seeing a positive upward trend. And then the FTSE, the FTSE, it's just a couple of companies that are actually whose sales expectation came below than estimated, and that's the reason why it came down, because investors were sort of harvesting their gains. Okay. With the JSE is relatively doing well, even though it's a negative 1.3%. It's actually doing well because of the gold stocks, or the should I say the miners. The miners are actually doing very well. Gold also has become a safe haven once again. Okay. And most companies are going there because of the uncertainty that I've mentioned. So this is just a short-term jittery. Otherwise, the JSE is doing well.
Okay, so moving on to commodities this afternoon.
Yeah, with commodities, as I've mentioned, gold has actually gone up. I think when I was reporting last week, it was actually sitting at about 4,900 an ounce. Now it's sitting at 5,174 per ounce. And most analysts are actually saying it will reach $6,000 per ounce by the end of the year, because of so many geopolitical factors that are actually affecting or causing investors to be wary of what's happening out there and rather choosing to go for the safe haven, which is gold. So we are actually seeing that playing out. Whether or not the 60,000 will become something that will happen, it remains to be seen. But at least we are seeing it moving in that direction. Okay. Brent crude, because of what's happening in Iran. Iran is the third largest producer of oil, or what the States did in Venezuela as well. The price is actually going up and down, so it's a bit volatile, and so the price that we're actually seeing here is slightly below what we actually saw last week.
All right, and lastly, the currencies today. Yeah,
so the dollar is strong. I mean, the rand is strong as compared to the dollar, and actually surprising because if you look at 15.91, that was actually, we're seeing on the screen. As I'm speaking to you now, it's actually strengthened even further because of the ongoing budget speech, yes. Right. Okay. Because positive things seemingly are coming out of that budget speech. So that the rand is actually continuing to strengthen because it's actually benefiting from the uncertainties, or should I say, the Trump effects that are actually taking place in the US. GBP is strong. Slightly going up because of a lot of companies that are actually listed on the London Stock Exchange actually released their reports in terms of the performances, and most of them were positive, and that's why we actually saw the pound coming out stronger. The euro, a couple of individual companies that are actually, like I said, their estimates came below expectations, and it did actually hit strongly, or rather affect the performance of the euro when compared to the rand. But also the rand is also strengthened by the factors that I've already highlighted, that all the reforms, because right now Gondwana is actually highlighting even the reforms in terms of electricity stability, which was better in 2025 than in previous years. And that's a positive thing. Investors are actually seeing that as a positive thing, and it's actually been filtering into the currency as well.
All right, thank you, Sfiso. Thank you for your time. See you again next week, Wednesday, for market analysis. We've come to the end of our program. Thank you for tuning in. Do not hesitate to visit any Nedbank branch in the country